I'm Jennifer Catetis.
Oh, good.
Nice to see you.
Good. I'm going to introduce you soon. Okay. Great. Is this on? No. Would you see if you can turn this on? Do you know? I mean, I don't. Oh, maybe that's. No, that's not it, is it? Good afternoon. Yay. Thank you.
Susan, are you Susan?
I am.
I'm Janet Johnson. I'm on the phone with you. I live in Grand Junction. I just happen to be here. I just wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So thank you all for coming. My name is Susan Gordon, and I'm the coordinator for the Multicultural Alliance for Safe Environment. So MACE is made up of 5 core groups that include the Blue Water Valley Downstream Alliance, a group that lives in Milan, New Mexico, next to the Homestake Barrick Gold uranium tailings pile. They've been working to clean up their contaminated water for more than 40 years. The Laguna Acoma Coalition for a Safe Environment. They are working on cleaning up the Jackpile mine, which was the largest open pit uranium mine in the United States at one point. The Eastern Navajo Dene Against Uranium Mining, located in Crown Point. They work on uranium mining issues on the Navajo Nation. The Post-71 Uranium Workers Committee, and there's a lot of uranium workers here today. We'll recognize you repeatedly. And the Redwater Pond Road Community Association, they live near Church Rock, and they are surrounded by 3 Superfund sites. So I'm glad that you're all here to join us today, and I'm going to ask Peterson Bell to come forward and open our press conference with a prayer. Petey.
Hello, I'll do a prayer for you good. I'm from Redwater Pond area. Can you get your head off? Dear Lord, bless this day and give us strength and make the people, the legislator, do their best to do what they do over here. Lord, give us strength. And every one of us that came here from afar and came to the roundhouse, thank you. Amen.
And I'd like to introduce Kathy Sanchez with Tewa Women United.
You'll please stand for the prayer as well. I'll say it briefly in Tewa and then I'll translate it. Good dagang to the Akit Owain the Anwaba, in Biping in Bihon, with Ombiari, Ove Ainami, he what it to Piri, he what it Puri, Rawahanai bit Owain, he what it Koriri, and then no Waho. Nango chukuyo na na diwe wa ma ho e ka ma di ai di muni di sigi amiri na mito kina ho ka I hi ho. Hirobe ku ke ma wa di hi amiri kuda. You may sit down. Thank you. So what I've said in my Tewa language is to bring an honoring to the culture of peace, where our mind and our hearts and our spirits are joined together so that our children in the future will have Mother Earth to have a good life. For them, we want to be about healing, caring, and sharing, and to stop this nonsense or craziness of the culture of violence where they extract from our mother, where they rape her and take out the elements that are very harmful. Our Creator placed these elements that are very powerful in their healing, but they need to remain in the ground. And so I'm very thankful that our decision makers here are hearing you and that they're supporting the bills that support helping those that have been wounded so far by the nuclear chain industry. So I thank all of you for being here with strong presence, with the goodness in heart, so everybody can survive and be without that crazy madness of that culture of violence. We want culture of peace in everybody's mind, hearts, and spirits. So good down. Thank you. Blessings.
So we have a number of speakers who have co-sponsored our legislation. We have Uranium Workers' Day memorials that are on the floor of the House and the Senate right now. So Representative Wonda Johnson is doing that on the House side, and Senator Pinto is doing that on the Senate side, and I believe it's passed on the Senate side, so that's great. So when they, oh, and it passed on the House side. Thank you. I would like to invite the Laguna Pueblo Tribal Secretary to come forward, and I have a copy of the letter. Thank you. I'm sorry I don't know your name. So
Frank.
Please, Frank. Okay, Frank's Cerna?
Cerna.
Great. So there's
Okay.
the letter.
All right, good morning, all. The Pueblo of Laguna supports the efforts of everyone that is doing whatever they can to go ahead and make sure that all these elements stay in the ground. I am going to go ahead and read a letter of support that was written by our governor, which was passed by council. It says, thank you very much for inviting the Pueblo of Laguna to join you in the Roundhouse in Santa Fe to commemorate Uranium Miners Workers' Day. I am sorry for not being able to be there personally, as I have some very important commitments that I have to attend to, but please welcome our Tribal Secretary as the Pueblo's representative for this important event. As you may be aware, the Pueblo of Laguna was once the site of the largest open pit uranium mine in the world. We know firsthand the challenges associated with uranium mining and its aftermath. Uranium mining severely impacted the health and welfare of our community members and left a legacy of environmental impacts on the land. Uranium is a human carcinogen and a toxic heavy metal that, when once disturbed through the mining process, can enter the human body in a variety of ways, causing devastating illnesses such as lung cancer, kidney failures, and numerous respiratory issues. After seeing firsthand the effects it had on our community members, the Pueblo heeded the call to assist former miners by supporting legislation that would compensate workers for their exposure to uranium, such as supporting the amendments to the 1872 Mining Act. During the 2008 New Mexico legislative session, the Pueblo testified in hearings on a number of bills which addressed uranium drilling, cleanup of old mines, and the health and environmental impacts associated with uranium mining in New Mexico. To this day, we continue to monitor the activities of companies that have shown interest in uranium mining activities in the Grants Mineral Belt. We are tracking bills that have been introduced at this year's legislative session. We are also proud to announce that we have established our own Tribal Historic Preservation Office and will help in these monitoring efforts, as well as identifying our cultural and religious sites, not only within our own reservation boundaries, but also in those presently used areas that we consider our ancestral homelands. Just in closing, I would like to say that the Pueblo of Laguna wholeheartedly supports the efforts and organizations like the Multicultural Alliance for a Safe Environment to raise awareness on the adverse health and environmental impacts of uranium mining. Thank you very much. Sincerely, Virgil A. Sile, Governor for the Pueblo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark, are you ready? I'm pleased to introduce Mark Freeland from the Navajo Nation government. How's that?
Thank you. Yat Arnold so Shay Mark Freeland is she lay twachi dena sha. Totsoni is Slorokia Ani Bushchin, Sanjikin Chalatsina Batlishale. On behalf of the President of the Navajo Nation and Vice President Jonathan Nez, Russell Begay and Jonathan Nez, we want to extend our sincere appreciation, of course, to Mace and, of course, to Donna. And we do support the Multicultural Alliance for a Safe Environment. We do have a number of issues out on Navajo. Of course, we have the Redwater Pond Road Association. They're here today. We also have the Eastern Dene against uranium mining out of Crown Point as well. Eastern Navajo is a hot belt for uranium mining, and that has been historically one of the big issues we've had on Navajo, and that continues to this day is the fight. We recently had, I'll tell you a little story about one of our chapters, Smith Lake chapter. We recently drilled for water in that area. We went down a little past 2,000 feet and we hit water because the community is really in need of water. We were so happy to find water, but guess what? The water was contaminated with uranium. So we're having to go back to the drawing board and look at, we're drilling, I think, a little bit past 4,000 feet now. So uranium is everywhere in that area. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak. The president, of course, couldn't make it today. I do apologize. We have some very important meetings going on in Window Rock regarding the Navajo generating station. So that's what's kept them in Window Rock. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it.
Have any of our legislators made it here? I definitely want to give them the opportunity to speak. I'd like to, is Cal Curley here? Great. So I'd like to introduce Cal Curley. He is a field representative for Senator Udall. Thanks, Cal. Didn't recognize you. Sorry.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay? I was sitting out there and I was like, oh my God, the acoustics in this roundhouse is so bad, right? Hopefully you'll hear me. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Cal Curley, and I'm U.S. Senator Udall's field representative. I take care of the northwest part of the state, Cibola, McKinley, San Juan, and counties, and the Navajo Nation. And I'm honored to be here before you. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here. I have some remarks from the senator. I'll read them and I'll leave it at that. Today is an important day at the legislature, recognizing the work uranium workers conducted on behalf of our country and the unknown risks they took to help keep us secure. Thank you, Susan Gordon, for the Multicultural Alliance for a Safe Environment for inviting me, and to Maze, Blue Water Valley Downstream Alliance, Eastern Navajo Dene Against Uranium Mining, Laguna Acoma Coalition for a Safe Environment, Post 71 Uranium Workers Committee, Redwater Pond Road Community Association, and the Tularosa Basin Downwinders Consortium for your hard work. You have worked relentlessly for years to address the legacy of the contamination from exposure to radiation and uranium. I support House Memorial 41, introduced by Representatives Wonda Johnson, Alicia Alcon, that recognizes the contributions of thousands of New Mexico uranium workers and the negative impacts from working in uranium mines. And thank you, Senator John Pinto, for introducing Senate Memorial 85, urging the New Mexico congressional delegation to continue efforts to amend the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, or RECA, to include downwinders in New Mexico and other states and workers working in uranium mines after 1971. Since I was first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, I have fought for these inclusions. And I can assure you that I will continue to push as hard as I can for these reforms. For over 3 decades, my family has fought for justice for miners who suffered from the exposure in the uranium mines of the Southwest. My father, Stuart Udall, brought the first court case calling for justice for Navajo miners. The efforts of Navajo activists, as well as his work, led to the passage of RECA. It is historic legislation, but RECA has gaps and does not cover all who should be compensated. I reintroduced the RECA amendments along with Senator Heinrich in January of this year, early in the 115th session of Congress. Because of their importance to New Mexicans, I have bipartisan support for Senate Bill 197 from Western senators. And I hope we can move this bill forward this session. There is no question but that New Mexicans and other Americans who were unknowingly exposed to radiation because of U.S. government activities are entitled to compensation for resulting health problems. The amendments provide fairness for the victims downwind of the Trinity Test Site in New Mexico, their former uranium miners and their families in the Four Corners region, and other victims across the West who were left out of the original law, but who deserves recognition and compensation for their hardships. I have also worked in the Senate to amend the overly complicated and unjust claims process of the Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Act, or EOCPA, program. Federal employees and RECA claimants have struggled with the EOCPA claims process for years. It is time to make the program more responsive to those who have suffered from exposure to dangerous materials in our nation's federal facilities. We must honor and protect the individuals who unwittingly gave their health and even their lives to national efforts to develop uranium and a Cold War nuclear arsenal during the mid-20th century. Some Americans were sickened through exposure to above-ground atomic weapons tests. Others were exposed to heavy doses of radiation from working in the uranium mining industry. But the government was slow to implement federal protections. As a result, generations of Americans who've worked in the mines and lived near testing sites became sick in serious diseases like lung cancer and kidney diseases. Much of the United States uranium development and weapons testing occurred in New Mexico and the West. Many large and small mines and mill sites were opened within the Navajo Nation. The Pueblo of Laguna was home to the nation's largest open pit uranium mine. At that time, these workers and much of the country were unaware of the dangers of radiation exposure. Please know, in Congress, I'm committed to working with all of you to improve compensation and also to clean up of the uranium legacy. Please continue to work with my staff to keep us updated on your concerns about the health and cleanup impacts on your communities. Again, for your hard work, thank you for your hard work on this important national justice issue. Respectfully, Tom Udall, United States Senator.
So I'd like to introduce Jennifer Katechis. I'm terrible with pronouncing names. And Jennifer is with Representative Ben Ray Lujan's office.
Good afternoon. I'm a little shorter than everybody else, so I'll pull that down. The congressmen unfortunately couldn't be here today. They go back into session this afternoon, but wanted to say a few words. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing my staff to say a few words on my behalf. To the members of the Multicultural Alliance for a Safe Environment, Interfaith Worker Justice for New Mexico, Post-71 Uranium Workers Work Group, to La Rosa Basin Downwinders Consortium, and everyone else here to make sure that the sacrifices that our fellow New Mexicans have made does not go unforgotten or fade into history. Thank you for all that you do. To the state legislative members who have carried the torch to make sure that we never forget by sponsoring legislation and creating this day at the legislature, thank you for fighting with us. Over 70 years ago, the United States detonated the first atomic bomb in southern New Mexico and changed the world forever. The story of the atomic age reminds us of our responsibility, not just to society today, but to those who have been negatively impacted in the past, and to ensure the health of our people and our environment in the future. We can never undo the mistakes of the past, but we have a duty to ensure that the communities impacted by exposure to radiation and uranium mining are not forgotten or ignored. Your work and advocacy provide proof that Congress must act to pass the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act to make sure those who have sacrificed so much are treated justly. This Congress, and hopefully this week, barring any surprise movements in Washington, I will again introduce and champion the RECA legislation on the House side to help those affected and ensure they receive adequate compensation. The Americans impacted by the Trinity test and through uranium mining have been ignored for too long, and it's time to remedy this wrong for those still with us. Sincerely, Ben R. Lujan, Member of Congress.
I'd also like to welcome Dave Nezzi, who's here from Senator Heinrich's office. Just wave your hand. And I'd also like to recognize Santa Fe County Commissioner Anna Hansen, who's here as well. So I saw Wonda Johnson, Representative Johnson. Are you there? She's working hard? Okay. That's so good. It's good to know that our representatives are working for us. Representative Alcone, would you care to speak, please? Thank you.
I don't know, is it morning or afternoon already? So I'll just say good afternoon just to be safe. Okay, first of all, I want to welcome you to Santa Fe. Every year I get to come here, and this is my home away from home. So now, mi casa es tu casa. You're visiting me at my home, which is my temporary home. I want you to know, one of the things that I've always said, a gathering like this is something that we need, but we need more. Because I know there's a lot more post-1971 workers in this world that are out there today that could not be here or have other things to do. You know, we're getting old. I mean, I was talking to one of the youngest men that I worked with when I was underground, and he's already an old man too, and he's only like 10 years younger than me, but he's already an old man. But together, we can be a voice. And the thing is, like I said earlier, we have to talk to our congressional delegates. We have to send them individual letters. We have to let them know that we are together trying to get the help. Because if any of you heard me on the floor, All of the uranium that was mined in the United States, in all the states, because there was like 5 states that had where uranium was mined, all of it was mined for the federal government. Federal government was the only entity that was buying this uranium. It wasn't like you and I could get $40 and go buy a pound of uranium. I mean, what were we going to use it for? So when the federal government says we didn't have a contract with you after 1971, they're pretty much pulling your leg, because if they hadn't been buying the uranium we produced, we wouldn't have produced it. That's all there is to it. So we need to, like I said, our congressional delegates are who we need to get a hold of. We need to keep on working them, and sooner or later they need to realize that we are serious. I want to thank you again. You heard my story on the floor. In 1977, I was working at the prison here in Santa Fe, and I quit my job here and went to work underground in the uranium mine. I was how many of you know what a pillar miner is? That's what I got to do, is I got to pull pillars underground, made some really good money. No ifs, ands, or buts. I can't complain about the money. If in today's standards, it would really be really decent money that I made while I was mining. But the thing is, it was a job, and who knows what I would have done if I hadn't mined. Anyway, thank you, everybody. And remember, stay together. We need to stay together and be a group. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Representative Wonda Johnson. She has been our champion. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Yat e ahehat. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for your support. I think you just heard we just passed House Memorial 41, Uranium Workers Day, with all members in the affirmative, so 70-0. So I'm not going to repeat any remarks and any thoughts. I think many of you know that I was about 11 years old during the largest and the most catastrophic uranium spill in the United States history. And I lived with my grandparents near the Rio Perco in Church Rock, New Mexico, when C.A.R.D. McGee had its uranium spill. So I'm very impassioned about this issue. It's important to me and my family and my community and my counties and all of you. And I know that because I know firsthand. I just buried an uncle about 3 weeks ago with full military honors. He also worked in the C.A.R.D. McGee mine, and he fought cancer for many years before we let him go. So with that said, I would like to thank you for your work on this memorial and the RECA bill. As our United States Congressmen and Senators Udall and Heinrich continue to move this through the passage of the United States Congress. They need our help here as state representatives, and we need your help. And we thank you for your help. We could not have done this, and we cannot do this without your support. We are your voice, and I'm proud to serve you, and I look forward to our continued efforts in this arena. Thank you.
So next, I'd like to invite Linda Evers with Post 71 Workers to come forward and say a few words. So now we're moving into the action part of our presentation. And I do want to say that we have two new things that we're starting today in terms of helping to elevate this issue. We have postcards that are over here, both on the Post 71 table and the Mace table, that are addressed to Senator Chuck Grassley. Senator Grassley is the chair of the Judiciary Committee in the U.S. Senate, and he has been sitting on this bill and not allowing it to move forward for a hearing. So please sign a postcard, take a stack of them. I brought 400. We really need to get them in, and ask him to hold a hearing on RECA. In addition, we're starting today an online petition. So to explain, my computer will be set up over here. You can go on to it and send a letter to Senator Heinrich and Udall asking them to also continue to work on Senate Bill 197. As soon as Representative Lujan introduces his bill, we'll be adding that. So this petition will be available nationwide. So we'll be sending out links, and people will be able to send messages from everywhere in the United States, and that's what we need to bring the pressure to make sure that the RECA bills are moved forward. So Linda, now the details.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming, and what a day. We got both the memorials passed through unanimously. So that gives us the second part. Thanks to the Mesa Alliance, Representative Wonda Johnson, Senator Pinto, Mr. Alcone, Representative Alcone. It took a great deal of effort, along with all of you folks here today, to get these things passed through. They're the first part of the two-piece puzzle that Washington said we needed. We needed the support from our state legislatures. We have that today. We also needed a comprehensive health study run by a government-accredited doctor. We have that today, too. This is an abstract from Dr. Sood, who works at UNMH Hospital. He's also the current bee reader for the RECA program. And this is an abstract that shows some of the basic information. The most important part is that he shows that the pre-71ers' lung conditions and respiratory illnesses are the same, no different than the pre-71 workers. So we have our government official doctor piece of paper now. So we also have support. I know you guys know the Mesa Alliance helps. A lot of people help. The Cold War Patriots Group, the Killian Law Office. I could stand here for an hour and read off people that help support us. Just know that it's all come down to you too. Your voice counts too. So what I need everybody to do now is, like Susan said, start bugging Washington. Emails, letters, phone calls, whatever way you choose to contact them, get a hold of them. Let them know the state of New Mexico has stepped up. Let them know Dr. Sood has an actual report that, by the way, has been accepted into the American Thoracic Society's International Convention for presentation. So this is a serious, these three things are what we need to go to Washington with. Now we have them. If you need copies of the report, we have them on the Post 71 table. I'm hoping to get copies of the memorials. So we can get this information to Washington. We can let them know that we've fulfilled the criteria that they set out to make us. But most importantly, I need everybody to participate just like you did today, because that's what it's going to take, all of us. I had a different speech prepared, but the memorials passed before I got to it, so I'm really kind of winging it here. If anybody has any questions, I'll be here for a while and help support the other bills, the Chaco Canyon, the renewable. This is a banner of sick and dying people that the Tularosa Downwind Consortium. Okay, they compiled this list of sick and dying and dead people. So if you have a moment, this is a memorial to the people in our state that are either already sick or already gone. Please take a moment to acknowledge. And the other side of the coin is this is even a fraction of the people that we have already lost. We just had about a month to work on it. We didn't have enough time to get everybody on there. We are still going to collect the names. We are still going to compile the obituary list. We are still going to send them to Washington, because it's Washington that can change the laws that include all of us in this with the RECA amendments. So let's get on the phone, call me if you have friends, family, or relatives that have passed away. We have cards. Let's get this obituary list going. But most importantly, we need to pressure Washington, and I'm going to need every one of you and your families. Like Susan said, we're going to need nationwide awareness. People on the East Coast are oblivious to the problems that we suffer with down here in the uranium industry. If you have a cousin that lives in Iowa, call them, tell them what we're doing, ask them to call their politicians. Well, Susan's petitions are most important. Please, 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 before you leave today, get your signature on the petitions. And don't forget your postcards. They go right to the Senate Judiciary Chair, and he's the guy with the power there. So everybody get on board. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's make the change this session. Thank you, Susan.
No. So I'd like to introduce Tina Cordova. And Holly, do you also want to come up? Tina's with the Tularosa-based Downwinders Consortium, and you'll talk a little bit about that. And Holly with the Interfaith Worker Justice of New Mexico.
Thank you, Susan.
I want to thank Susan, first of all, for inviting us to participate in this very important event here in Santa Fe today. And I want my hats off to Linda Evers. She's been working forever on this issue, as have some of us. I'm Tina Cordova with the Tularosa Basin Downwinders Consortium. I'm the co-founder of that organization. We started 12 years ago to bring attention to the negative health effects suffered by the people who lived in and around the Trinity Test Site. We were the unknowing, unwilling, uncompensated collateral damage that was left to deal with the consequences for 72 years now, with no acknowledgement or compensation for our government. A lot of people don't know, but the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act was set up over 27 years ago. And that fund has paid out over $2 billion to people who live downwind of the Nevada test site. I think it's highly important for everybody in New Mexico to recognize that we were the first downwinders. We were the first consequence to a nuclear device. It is also very important that we join hands with the uranium miners, that we stand shoulder to shoulder with our brothers and sisters who have suffered through the process of extracting uranium and then the testing and the development of the bombs that took place here in New Mexico. We have all suffered the consequences of that. We have put far too many of our relatives, our loved ones, our neighbors, our community members in the ground because of it. It is high time that Chuck Grassley recognizes that the people of New Mexico exist, and I am so grateful that there is a process now underway put in place by the uranium miners to reach out to Chuck Grassley. We actually have just completed a tour where we went to Tularosa, where we went to Socorro, and where we went to Albuquerque, where we had standing room only crowds of people who come together because they are sick and tired of dealing with these consequences alone. And what did we tell them? We asked them to pledge to make a call once a week to Chuck Grassley's office. We said, take a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, but call his office and do it every week so that he's inundated with calls from people who are sick and tired of being ignored, okay? I want to form this alliance with the uranium miners. I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Our people, the people who are the downwinders of New Mexico, we want to form an alliance that they cannot silence. Okay, we are far stronger. We are far stronger together than we are apart from each other. We have a shared history of suffering, and we need to build on that. We need to make sure that in Washington that they hear us. We are the collateral damage, and we can be silenced no more. I think that this is an incredible tribute. It's a memorialization of the people we've lost. We have an annual candlelight vigil on the Saturday closest to July 16th every summer in Tularosa. And this last year, out of a community of 3,200 people, through a voluntary process, that means people coming forward and sharing the names of their loved ones, their neighbors, their family members, we lit 800 luminarias in memory of people. 800. If we went door to door, we would light thousands, and you all know what I'm talking about. You all have been through it too. And so today I ask you, let's join hands, the Downwinders and the uranium miners. Let's make a pledge to work together from this day forward to make sure that we are silenced no longer. Thank you, Susan.
Good afternoon. I'm the Reverend Holly Beaumont, Organizing Director of Interfaith Worker Justice New Mexico. We are a network of people of faith and people of conscience across the state of New Mexico who advocate for economic justice and workers' rights. It has been my honor to work with Tina Cordova and the Tularosa Basin Downwinders Consortium for some years now. Prior to that, my education about the reality of the impact of the nuclear weapons and uranium industries on the people of New Mexico began with Tewa Women United, Kathy Sanchez, Las Mujeres Zablon. I've learned a great deal. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is known for many quotes, but one that I frequently reference is the quote that justice delayed is justice denied. I would say to you that we have resigned ourselves to the fact that our government felt that they had to develop a bomb before our enemies during World War II. We've resigned ourselves to that fact. We've resigned ourselves to the fact that our government thought that the Tularosa Basin was an appropriate place to test that bomb, having described it in their documents as remote and uninhabited, in spite of the fact that we know that between 40 and 60,000 people were inhabiting that area. We have resigned ourselves to the fact that even though they developed plans for evacuating the area, at the last minute they decided that they could not risk any kind of national security breach by evacuating. We've resigned ourselves to that. But we will never resign ourselves to the fact that the United States government never came back to Tularosa, never came back to Grants and Gallup and that area to take responsibility for the impact of those deadly industries on the people of New Mexico. We will never accept that injustice. We will continue to press and urge and demand our government to use the funds that they collect from us as taxpayers to compensate the people of New Mexico and to provide us with the health care that we must have in order to survive and to have the quality of life that we deserve. You're all familiar with mic checks, right, at demonstrations? So mic checks is when I say a phrase and you answer it back to me. So I'm going to close with this. I'm going to say the words and then you respond back to me. Justice delayed. Justice delayed. Is justice denied. Justice denied. Louder. Justice delayed. Justice delayed. Is justice denied. Justice denied. Justice delayed. Justice delayed. Is justice denied. Justice denied. Thank you.
John? I'd like to introduce John Boomer. He is with the Blue Water Valley Downstream Alliance, and he is going to sing a song for us about uranium mining.
See if this will work. I might have to snuggle up to the mic a little bit here. How many miners and people affected by all this situation are here today?
How many miners?
How many miners are here signing
hand.
up for the Post 71?
How many family members? Miners and family members.
Yeah. I'd like to give a shout out to Linda Evers, who's just done this incredible, impressive job of pushing all this stuff forward, and all the other people too that are involved. I moved to the Grants Mineral Belt area. I'm a mile and a half from a Superfund site. I'm actually inside the Superfund site now, as the plume has gone from 200 acres to over 5,000 acres. And my property also had soil, contaminated soil. The water in my well is contaminated and stuff. But I've probably suffered the least as I moved there 16 years ago. Anyway, I got involved in '05 with this group and have tried to participate a little bit, not nearly as much as so many people here in this room. This song is dedicated to the miners. It's called Here's to the Men in the Mines. And it's kind of awkward up here, but I'll do my best. Here's to the men in the mines, working their backs to the bone. They're out in their stope, just working all alone. They're on the job for 10, putting it all on the line, working for the man in his uranium mine. Well, folks came into the Grants mining mineral belt from places all around, out in the cowboy country and the small towns, Laguna and Acoma and the Zuni Pueblo, and a whole lot of them came from Navajo. And they all signed up to go down in that hole. They didn't warn us of the dangers that were there. All that radioactive dust just floating in the air. They just promised us hard work and pretty good pay. But now many are sick and dying each day. Their families trying to hang on to just barely hanging on. Well, Senator Heinrich came down and old Udall too. They tried to help us out and ask, how do you do? Well, they wrote us up a bill to try to help the disabled. But those Congress boys, they just kept putting it on the table and signing mining contracts and giving us old boys the shaft. Well, you work hard all day trying to rise to the middle, and there ain't much time for me to play this old git fiddle. I just wish I was a sunflower out in a field of yellow, taking up sunshine and feeling kind of mellow, instead of here trying to hang on to just barely hanging on. So you work hard all your life till you break your back, and you still can't get what you need for what you lack. So when your spirits are broken and you don't see what for, and your family's tired and hungry and can't take it anymore, you can't hang on to just barely hanging on anymore. You can't hang on to just barely hanging on anymore. Thank you.
So I've just discovered that the next press conference, which I had been told would start at 1:30, is supposed to start at 1. So we are going to end our Uranium Workers Day press conference. We had a few more speakers, but we'll be milling over here. Here are the postcards. Please come get one to send it, and thank you all again for coming. Thanks. Thanks.